Welcome to Giants Nation. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, and we've got a big episode. We got our last mailbag until week 1 of the season, training camp mailbag. So we're going to get into all your mailbag questions, some good stuff. Breakout player, Russell Wilson. I've been saying all offseason, like, where does Russ rank as quarterback, just quarterbacks in the NFL? We'll talk about that, but also why that's still an upgrade no matter where you really, put him. And hey, this is my last episode in Florida. We have starting Monday, we have 5 episodes a week. Every weekday for the next 6 weeks, we're hearing an episode, player profiles and projections. So first one is Monday. And then by the time that comes out, I'm going to be up in New Jersey Sunday morning, getting ready to go. We're going to hit the road. And then Monday we'll be in New Jersey for training camp. Tuesday's episode, a really cool location. We're doing that with a fun announcement to go with it. Really excited for training camp. We're going to be going as hard as we can. There's going to be some fun stuff that we haven't unveiled quite yet. And we're going to be there live every single day. So make sure to come out, have a good time. Really excited for it. Really excited for this mailbag and really excited to get up there. I'm all freaking jacked up like a juju, being just ready to go. Like I'm just, all this whole week I've just been like, all right, let's do stuff. What do we need? Let's go to the store, get this, just nonstop, no relaxing. All right, let's talk about, let's get into this mailbag first. This episode was brought to you by a special group of people and one person in particular, Sean O'Connell, not Sean Connery, Sean O'Connell. The most annoying person does a Sean Connery accent because it's not that hard to do. And he's like, I'm so great at accents, but it's just kidding. Sean O'Connell, this person went to patreon.com/Giants Nation. That is the lifeblood of this show. You get a sticker in the mail when you sign up. You get entered into shirt raffles, and we're gonna start, unveiling exclusive content on Patreon, right? Film reviews, where we're doing film reviews for preseason games too. So that's gonna roll out. Might even put some other bonus stuff back there. Record the shows live on there. So patreon.com/Giants Nation to keep this show going and having fun. All right. Take it away, Steve.
Mail time.
Mail time.
The mail's here. Come on. Bye, guys. Here's the mail. It never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail.
Thanks, Steve from Blues Clues. Let's get into the mail. First question comes from Ryan at Giants_Ryan. Which current Giants player do you think has the potential to go from outside the top 10 list of best Giants into the top 5 this season? No rookies. Now, I didn't do top 5 because I do think it's very hard to jump into the top 5. Now you can make the argument for 5th, because I do this top 10 list as an exercise, and we did it on the June mailbag of, let's take a look at the roster of the top 10 players. I did Dexter Lawrence 1, Andrew Thomas 2, Malik Neighbors 3, Brian Burns 4. To really, again, if you're not including Abdul Carter, I just don't see anyone getting into that range. Put Paulson Adebo at 5, which is definitely attainable by the guy that I'm talking about. Javon Holland 6, Bobby Okereke 7. I put Abdul Carter 8. I understand he's a rookie, but I have that high of expectations for him. Kayvon Thibodeau 9, and then I had Darius Slayton as 10 as my top 10, just overall players, not positional value, just top 10 players on the Giants. But I'm kind of using this question as who's do you think can actually be a breakout player for the Giants? And I think, and you know what? Hold on, I'm going to tease you. I don't have my timer going, and I want to make sure I keep good time on this episode. I think Tyler Nubin should get onto this list, right? The top 10 list easily. He should be by the end of the season, I think he should be a better overall player than Kayvon Thibodeau, Darius Slayton, and Bobby Okereke, unless, those guys have phenomenal seasons. And I don't want to spoil his player profile and projection episode that comes out next Wednesday. And maybe that's why he's on my mind a lot lately. But he was a competent player as a rookie. He didn't give up a lot of yards or catches. He did well as a run defender outside of some bad angles coming from deep. And I think he's going to play more in the box this year. But he needs to become a playmaker. It's not just being competent. He needs to be a playmaker. You got to have your second round picks become difference makers. And just being a solid safety is not going to satisfy me if that's where Tyler Nubin is at the end of the year. Again, he was also the first safety taken off the board in his draft class. So they got the pick from any safety in the class. They said, that's the guy that we've identified to be, a leader on our team. I know Andrew Phillips might be a more common answer by people, but I still have bigger expectations for Tyler Nubin. And Phillips didn't do well with ball production, ball skills in college, and I just don't see guys make that jump in that area specifically, even though they could be good players. But Nubin did. Nubin did have that, right? Nubin had 12 interceptions and 11 pass breakups in his final 3 seasons of college. You saw him have a mental edge over his opponent in college. You saw him play man covers really well. You saw him be a dog in the run game. But he had 0 interceptions and 1 pass breakup last year. He's gotta be a playmaker. There's a question about breakout players later, but this is Tyler Nubin is the type of profile that fits that. Like, someone who wasn't bad as a rookie, but didn't have, this great, season where he's on people's radar. He didn't have the same mental advantage as a rookie, right? You're kinda more learning about, learning the system, doing your job. I don't think Shane Bowen put a lot on his plate, and I think he can. In fact, we talk about, these DBs having more experience. Nubin is the one guy. You need to be putting a ton on his plate mentally. If you're not, you're really limiting his potential. Again, I don't want to spoil his player profile on Wednesday, but I am focusing in on him this preseason. There's things I like about Nubin. There's some good metrics on Nubin, but he needs to be a legit playmaker, not just a good player, an overall player, but a playmaker, and get himself on that list. There's no reason why Tyler Nubin can't be better than Paulson Adebo, Bobby Okereke, Kayvon Darius Slayton. There's no reason that he can't be that level of player. He's not going to be hitting your top 4 list, right? I don't see him ever unearthing Brian Burns or Malik Neighbors, but a really damn good player. Absolutely. And that's my expectation for Tyler Nubin. It's not just putting out hope. It's an expectation for Tyler Nubin to be that player. So, all right, next question. Let me get a swig of water. DeekFreak72 at JJDeekFreak72. Since you keep talking about it, where would you rank Russ among starting QBs? So I have been talking about this mostly when I'm talking with a guest or on some type of live stream about, like, the upgrade that Russell Wilson is. But I'm like, but where would you rank Russell Wilson in your quarterback rankings, right? Because we upgraded, but what did we upgrade to relative to the rest of the NFL? So don't put too much focus on you put this guy at 9 and this guy at 6, but just guys that I would rank above Russ. So, and you could just hear what my QB rankings were. I didn't put a ton of thought into this, but kind of going off of my thoughts out there in the year. I was doing an NFL show last year. So Mahomes 1. I put Allen 2, Lamar 3. I could argue with myself back and forth. I was someone who thought Lamar should have won MVP last year, but I do give Allen that edge. Burrow 4. It's early, but I think Jaden Daniels at 5 isn't crazy. Matthew Stafford 6, CJ Stroud 7, Justin Herbert 8. I put Jalen Hurts 9, Jordan Love 10. And this is where the order, again, put it whatever way you want, but I put Brock Purdy at 11, Dak at 12, Baker Mayfield at 13, Jared Goff at 14, Kyler Murray at 15, Geno Smith at 16, Trevor Lawrence at 17, Bo Nix at 18, Sam Darnold at 19. Again, you can swap those. I put Aaron Rodgers at 20, and this is where we come up on Russell Wilson. I don't want to be like totally disrespectful to Tua's production, but I guess I'll put him over Russ and then put Russ at 22, but I could make the argument that Russ is better than Tua. So but let's just say Russ at 22 or 21. And that's where I would put him in. And again, that's not including Caleb Williams, Drake May, who, I think will have a lot better second years. Michael Penix, JJ McCarthy, you guys know I'm not big believers in those guys, but they haven't done enough to be ahead of Russ in that. Cam Ward, who I really like, but I'm not going to put a guy who hasn't played over him in these rankings for this exercise, at least. So like 20 seconds. So that's not good, right? That's below average. Which sounds Debbie Downer, but there is serious upgrades that we'll talk about. But that's where I worry about. It's like, man, I know we're upgrading, and there's no denying it. There's no denying it unless Russ falls off a cliff of what he's been the last couple of years. But is it going to be enough? You know what I mean? Like, is it going to be enough for them to win 2 out of the first 5 games, let alone having a winning record? But like I said, we are getting upgraded, especially over the last 2 years version of Daniel Jones, right? Like, and you want to talk about quarterback rankings. Who are the starters that Daniel Jones was better than last year? Deshaun Watson, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, and Gardner Minshew. Maybe Kirk Cousins once the injury started catching up with him after week 8 or whatever it was. So like 28th or 29th. And so, like, hey, you're going up from, say the 29th or 28th quarterback to the 22nd, right? That doesn't seem like a big jump, right? If you said, oh, we have the 28th best running back room to the 22nd best running back room, you wouldn't be putting a lot of hope on that. But there's can be wider gaps than just quarterback rankings. And there's things that we know will 1,000% be much better, right? When we talk about, not overall, but, this offense has become way more explosive because Russell Wilson has been consistently top 10 in the NFL at that, right? And it gets beaten to death, but explosive plays, man, you raise your likelihood of having a scoring drive when you get explosive plays, right? When you if you get a 42-yard pass, well, there goes, the 9 plays, 42 yards, or 7 plays, 42 yards. You just got that in one, and it's just less opportunities for you to make a mistake to end your drive. And the Giants averaged 15.6 points per game with Daniel Jones last year. Russ with the Steelers averaged 23 points per game. So 7.5 points more per game is a big deal. And you can argue that the Giants offense is better, more talented than the Steelers last year, where it was George Pickens, Calvin Austin, Pat Freiermuth, Darnell. That's not very talented. Now they have a better run game, undoubtedly, and a better offensive line. But receiving weapons, he's better off with the Giants. And again, 7.5 more points per game. That's a huge gap. That's from going 29th to 13th in scoring. Russ has been ranked 2nd, 7th, and 7th the last 3 years in deep passer rating, while being 8th, 4th, and 1st in attempt rating. So not just having, he goes the deep ball good, but he doesn't throw it a lot. No, he throws it a lot, and he throws it well. And we talk about those explosive plays. In that same time period, Daniel Jones has been 32nd, 38th, and 3rd in passer rating, throwing the ball deep. 3rd being in 2022. But like I said, he's been 34th. Last and second to last in attempt rate in those years. So it's not doing it well outside of 2022 and not doing it often at all. So no doubt there is a serious upgrade over what you've gotten over the last couple of years, but there also is a QB who doesn't see the middle of the field to save his life, and Russell Wilson takes way more sacks than anybody. And I understand, like when we talk about Malik Neighbors and Darius Slate and the potential with Russell Wilson, yes, I think they're gonna do better. At least, Darius Slayton, Neighbors will put up yards with anybody. But this idea that Russ is gonna make Wan'Dale Robinson this better, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe more effective, whatever, and get some more downfield touches. But Wan'Dale is not a downfield player. He'll have some downfield catches, but he is not a downfield player. And Russ's lack of ability to run quick game, I don't think that makes Wan'Dale Robinson now we're going to see his true potential. Again, I think you'll see some more explosive plays and people will line up the potential. But Wan'Dale Robinson's role isn't and shouldn't be to be making plays down the field. It should be working the quick game effectively the way guys like Cole Beasley did, the way like other, good slot wide receivers did. And if you can add some explosives on top of that or create legit yak out of that, then we're talking about you being a real deal player. And it's like, is Russ going to give him those opportunities? Now, again, I'd rather have the explosives. So, obviously I don't have this super high opinion of Russ. I did think he was the best option for the Giants. Once once I won the Felford Award and thought, Aaron Rodgers might have some humility and just sign with the team quickly and buy in and try and have one good, last year without making it all about him. His contract's cheap. Like even if he at the end of the season we're saying he's the 26th best, I'm not gonna be like, I can't believe they went out and signed Russell Wilson. I'm like, no, it made sense. And it still makes sense especially when they drafted Jackson Dart. But yeah, Russ is an upgrade. What will it lead to for the Giants? That's what I'm more engaged in. Now, as a fan, it's gonna be fun to see explosive plays again. They are fun, right? Even if you lose games, it's fun to watch film the next day and see those explosive plays. But in reality, what we want to see is how much better is this team. So we'll see that from Russell Wilson. Alex Sanso, next question at Sanso_Alex. Is there anything Dart can do to make you want him to start an ad reading this September? Wow. He should be a starter over me. I just freaking fumbled over the damn question. I think so. Because guess what? I am so excited to see the New York Giants. I might even go to a Jets preseason game. What? Going to a couple races in the next month. What? And guess what? I'm going to be active and be out of the house, and I'm going to be doing it through SeatGeek. And I've been looking to find the best deal on SeatGeek tickets. We got the mystery wheel. I'm thinking or the mystery box. I think I might put some Giants preseason tickets in there. Doesn't, maybe that. And guess where I'm going to get them? SeatGeek. I was already looking at prices before I did this show. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. Go check out Coldplay. The NFL schedule is out. Preseason's right around the corner. We're there. I'm excited for it. So, MLB, coming off the All-Star break. I love using SeatGeek. And again, maybe I should. You guys want to see? Let's look at some. Maybe the next SeatGeek ad read, I just actually buy those Giants preseason tickets for the mystery box. Could we do that? Ooh-wee. Let's look it up. Let's see the price of a New York Giants preseason game. So Patriots at Giants, $8 on SeatGeek right now. Get it before I do. Check it out. SeatGeek has your back. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you're getting a good deal. So look for the green dots. Green means good, red means bad. It's pretty damn simple. Plus, every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. And I came through for you guys. You can use code BOBBY2025 for 10% off and on your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. Again, that's not first order. That's any tickets. Go add it to your phone right now. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code BOBBY2025. Make sure to click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you, SeatGeek. You'll be glad you did. Next question. At star emoji. At MasterZ978. Daniel Bellinger traded or cut? I asked for this question because I wanted to get my Daniel Bellinger take on the record before camp starts on where I stand with him. Bellinger has been like the talk of surprise cuts, when that topic happens every year around this time, because he's not tight end one. The Giants will be using Chris Manhertz in a lot of blocking scenarios. There's a rookie tight end on the roster. Despite being a 7th rounder, they always get a little extra buzz. And they can save essentially $2 million in cap space. Woo, so much money with almost no dead cap. Don't say $3 million in savings because you have to replace his contract with someone else. And the Giants, guess what? They need cap space. They're going to need cap space to get through the season. The Giants have no void contracts, right? Like if there's one thing Shane has done is kept the cap and got the cap in a healthy spot. And now you have Daniel Jones dead cap on the books this year. It's going to be off next year. They do need to create some cap space to get through the season. But cutting your year 4 4th round tight end who does bring value to the team to save $2 million to me is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I'm no Daniel Bellinger stan. Right, I threw some cold water on people pumping up his rookie season. I picked Theo Johnson to beat him in our Camp Battles pod last year. I I don't think he has like this untapped potential if they gave him these more opportunities. No, I think he is. I think he is what he is. But he's a competent, versatile player. He's your best move blocker on a team that doesn't carry a fullback. He's your starting tight end if your second year tight end coming off an injury re-injures his foot. Right? I understand Chris Manhertz gets a lot of reps, and if everyone's healthy, Bellinger will get the third most snaps because Theo's the starter and Chris Manhertz is like this blocking specialist. But Chris Manhertz is not your tight end too. He's not. Daniel Bellinger is, right? And we saw the example of that when Theo Johnson got injured last year. Did Chris Manhertz didn't become the starting tight end? No, Daniel Bellinger did. So, like, why would you cut that to save $2 million in year 4 of a regime with a guy that you drafted? Like, he played 12 snaps per game last year for you when everyone was healthy, with, some games up to 26. He was a starter when Theo Johnson got injured. Like, you really got that much faith in freaking Thomas Fidone? You think, well, we got Thomas Fidone now, so now we got to invest. No, you don't. He's a 7th-round pick. He had 2 7th-round picks. Not every draft pick needs. And again, if you want to keep Thomas Fidone, keep him. But keep him as the 4th, tight end on the roster. That's certainly doable. And again, a lot of people argue that Bellinger is the best tight end. I don't think Theo Johnson has clear-cut been better. I disagree with those people. But he is the best in certain roles, and he's clearly your second best. And I understand you needing cap space, but sorry, $2 million of cap savings is not worth making your team worse. And it does make your team worse, and depth freaking matters. So restructure Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns contracts like you knew you were going to have to do anyways. And even if you cut Daniel Bellinger, you still have to do that. So just do that. You're in good cap space going forward, and keep Daniel Bellinger. Now, if they try to do the pay cut thing, I wouldn't even advise that if I was Joe Shane. Like, and we saw the thing with Nick McLeod last year of tell him not to pay his rent as soon as I can cut you, I'm going to, saying that's with Nick McLeod. And I know, again, nobody's sitting here being like, I miss Nick McLeod, but he was a starter for them at the time when he was saying these things to Nick McLeod. He was a starter. And I don't know if that's on Joe Shane's best interest to be, saying similar things to Daniel Bellinger or putting him in, like, they always say, if you ask your player to take a pay cut, you better be ready to cut that player. So listen, if Bellinger stays and you force him to take that pay cut, okay, like, I'm not going to be mad about saving cap space, but just keep the players that deserve to be on the roster on the roster. It's as simple as that. All right, next question. NYG fan and CLT. Besides having an optimistic outlook on Jackson Dart, what are you hoping to take away from the preseason games? This is tough because you can't take any victory laps in preseason, but you can sound some alarms. But when I go through the roster, I'm like, whose preseason am I really invest? Obviously Jackson Dart's, but even if Jackson Dart, like, I'm not focusing in on it. I'm going to watch every throw fucking, 9 times, but I'm not like having takeaways. I know he has the physical talent to be an NFL quarterback. So if he's terrible, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not worried at all, because if you're terrible against the most basic NFL defenses, I'm going to be a little worried. But I'm not going to be like, well, it's over. Well, the season is over. But there is one guy who I think you can like really pay attention to. I think it's Marcus Mbow. I want to see how he holds up strength-wise, no matter, whatever position he's at. I want to see if he holds up strength-wise, right? Again, no victory laps if he does, but he's playing NFL backup talent, so hold up against it and show that you can hang with backups, at least as a rookie. I also want to see how much his athleticism is advantage. Like, I think Marcus Mbow is someone I'm really going to focus in on preseason. And honestly, I was that's came to my head recently, like, as I want to do some better content and really cover the preseason better and go all in, is like, maybe Marcus Mbow want to make an individual video on in preseason. So, but Marcus Mbow is really Evan Neal. It's more out of curiosity of what he's going to look like at guard. I'm just not as invested as Evan Neal at guard as other people are. Love to see which one of the inside linebacker the inside backers sets, himself apart, because you have Bobby Okereke and Micah McFadden as 1-2, and maybe they have more Moasau as like a clear 3, but I feel like that should be as open as a competition as any on the team, if not the most open on the team. You got Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, Chris Board, Deontay Johnson. So I think all 4 of those guys should have a fair shot at it. And all 4 of those guys. Now Chris Board's going to make the roster, but all 4 of those guys can play special teams. So, so that's it. But again, like think about like guys. Obviously, I'm going to be paying attention to everybody. The the UDFA receivers, I'm going to be paying attention to, and guys who can like make their mark as like, the 50th to 53rd guy on the roster. Nobody's more interested in that stuff than me, but like really thinking like consequential stuff in the preseason. And Marcus Mbow is really the only player I can really land on. Like running backs always do well in preseason, so Scatterboo isn't gonna, him playing well is not gonna move me. Alexander, I think even if I think Alexander's the type of player that'll thrive in preseason no matter what. Carter's a beast. Again, we talk about Dart. But even Corey Black and Thomas Fedoni, like I'm not super invested in their preseason. And then like second-year players, I mean, again, like the second Neighbors is a beast. Newman and Phillips and Theo Johnson, they couldn't. We know there's a baseline there, so we're not worried about them going lower than that. And I don't think either can set themselves as stars in the preseason. Tracy's a good player. So I really landed with Marcus Mbow. Marcus Mbow. All right, next question. Ryan again. Yeah, good questions by Ryan. @Giants_Ryan. This was a great question. Who was the last Giants player to really break out in their 3rd year after a slow/bad start to their career? Example, what we're hoping to see from Neil High or even Banks. This is a great question because it's like, hey, man, you don't have to be a fan, but like, slow down. Like the evidence is not there that bad players are going to turn good in year 3. And so I went back all the way to 2005 draft classes, and there was really only like 3 guys who like really increased as players. Now there's some guys who went from, good to really good or whatever, but I'm talking about like guys who were just like totally were going from bad players or non-contributing players to like, above average, whatever. Julian Love in year 4 became a pretty damn good player. But even him, it doesn't feel like it counts. Like, he's been to some Pro Bowls with the Seahawks, but he was behind Peppers, McKinney, and Logan Ryan for his 2nd and 3rd season with the Giants. And I always liked Julian Love, even in those years when he did get the opportunity to play. I thought he did at least, solid. He showed off his versatility, played every single role, even played some outside corner in 2020. As a rookie in 2019 when Jabril Peppers got injured, in 5 starts, he had 5 tackles for a loss, an interception, and 2 pass breakups. That's pretty good. A tackle for a loss per game, pass breakups. Like, I used to do like the 16 game rates at that time. His 16 game rate would have been, 16 tackles for a loss, 8, but he would have been the best safety in the NFL. And if he was drafted the same year Dane Belton did, right, but both top of the 4th round picks, well, he'd be a starter on this team. He wouldn't be year 4 and not be a starter the same way Dane Belton is. And that's when they drafted Dane Belton. I didn't like the Dane Belton pick, but I was like, that's kind of the goal. Become a Julian Love type player. Advantage as a 3rd safety and then become a starter year 4, year 3. But again, if Julian Love was drafted in 2022 instead of Dane Belton and was the same player, he would have been a starter obviously right away because he was the starter in 2022. But like he would have started over Jason Pinnock. And then he's not better than Javon Holland, and then they probably wouldn't have drafted Todd Newman. But so Julian Love, you could maybe say Devin Kennard is one. Really the only great answer, and again, I went back to 20 years worth of draft classes, is Justin Tuck. He had 1 sack and 1 tackle for a loss in his first 2 seasons over 20 games. And then he became a double-digit sack guy and obviously was huge in the Super Bowl run in his 3rd year. So Justin Tuck is a great example, but he's really the only real example of this. So the point being is hope is not a strategy. You can't be relying on any of those 3 players to be good for you when, mentioned Neal, Deontay Banks, and Jalen Hyatt, especially Neal and Jalen Hyatt. And especially like if those guys have been given opportunities. It's one thing to like if you're talking about some late round pick or UDFA who hung around for the first 2 years and now he's getting his first real opportunity to play. But day 1 and day 2 picks, you should treat them as found money if they become good for you. People say you need 3 years to judge a rookie class, but I really think it only needs 2 to have a good idea. Year 3, I think, is where you find a little more out of the day 3 picks. But like, tell me what day 1 and day 2 pick after year 2, your opinion totally changed in year 3. If anything, the only opinions that change are you overrated them in their first 2 years. In year 3, you're like, he sucks. Maybe Darnay Holmes. And I fell into that boat a little bit too. So, but a great question that made me like, you know what? What is the example? Like, is there enough evidence? Maybe we go to other teams and they have, one every other year and it's just a giant stink. But hell, there's 2 Super Bowl, 2 draft classes of Super Bowl players, or 2 Super Bowl teams that had players drafted. And the only one I came up was with Justin Tuck. All right, next question. Jack Salazzoni at Jack Salazzoni. What do you think will lead the team? Who do you think will lead the team on defense in the following categories this upcoming season? Tackles, sacks, QB hits, tackles for a loss, pass breakups, and interceptions. So tackles is going to be a little depressing, and I'm doing this with the assumption that everyone's healthy for 17 games. I'm not trying to predict, well, this guy misses 3 games. So tackles, I'm actually going to say Tyler Nubin. This defense puts the DBs in this spot quite a bit where they need to make plays. Tyler Nubin, I think, is going to be playing in the box a lot more. And, Tyler Nubin only played 54 more snaps than Bobby Okereke last year, and he had 5 more tackles than him. Essentially he played a little less than 1 game's worth of snaps. And like I said, had 5 more tackles than him. And, when Tyler Nubin started playing the box a lot more in his last 4.5 games, he had 46 tackles in those games. So, he would have been on pace for, a lot of tackles. When he started playing in the box more, obviously he's not going to have 12 tackles every game. You have to get 3 games in a row with 12 tackles at the end. So I think it's going to be Tyler Nubin. McFadden gets a lot. Okereke split those. So I'm going to go Tyler Nubin there. Sacks. This is one I think people are going to disagree with me on. And I may disagree with myself in some sense. But there's only 2 double-digit sack seasons on this team. Burns had 12.5 in 2022, and Kayvon had 11.5 in 2023. Dex would have last year, but he also had really low sack years, including as a dominant player where he had 4.5 sacks and 4 sacks. So he doesn't have this great track record of continuously picking up sacks, despite being the best at his position, or second best after Chris Jones. I'm going to Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter is a finisher. Like, maybe I'm crazy, but this is who I truly feel is the best bet to get the most sacks on this team. Now, if you ask me if it was Abdul Carter versus the field, I'd probably take the field that one of Dex or Burns beats him. But, here's the thing that made me really go Abdul Carter. He's supposed to be a consistent 12-plus sack guy. Not a Brian Burns player where you get 9.5 or 9 or 8.5. No, he's supposed to be one of those guys that every year gets 12. And that's not the expectation as a rookie, but if that's the expectation overall, I'm gonna pick you to lead the team in sacks this year. So I'm gonna go Abdul Carter for sacks. QB hits, Dexter Lawrence easy. I mean, he's consistently great in pass rush metrics for 3 years now. I'm picking him. Tackles for a loss, we're gonna go Brian Burns. He had 17 last year. That was the most since Marcus Golden had when Marcus Golden had 18 in 2019 for the Giants. He does well in that area consistently. Last 4 years, he had 17, 16, 17, and 13. So it wasn't just one fluke year for Brian Burns. He's consistently in there. I really think the only guy that can challenge him is Abdul Carter there. I don't think Dex or Kayvon can really challenge him there. Pass breakups and interceptions, I'm going one player. This is the easiest one, Paulson Adebo. I mean, he's the only guy in the roster who consistently does either. So that's just an easy pick for me, where Javon Holland doesn't consistently do that. Deontay Banks certainly doesn't do that. Tyler Nubin and Andrew Phillips combined for 1 interception and 1 pass breakup last year. So hopefully Nubin can can compete with Adebo on this, but until he does, I'm not going to pick him to do it. So I'm going to go Paulson Adebo with both of those. Next question. Let me get a drink of water. Mark Breer at MJ Breer. What has been your favorite part about branching out on your own? So I hope I'm not getting like obsessive over like talking about the new show and stuff as it gets older, but it is fun. And I do like talking about it. I don't want to be obsessive over it where it's like, obviously some people care a lot, but like majority of the audience just is here for Giants content. Um, the big like difference one is like not having the feeling of hard work or accomplishments being looked over. Um, but as far as like differences, like the show is very similar to the previous show. And I always worked extremely hard at Talking Giants and was happy about the product. Now I'd have to kind of, you know, be like, this is the way we're doing it, and I don't care. But the product hasn't really changed overall, in my opinion. Obviously, there's not a full-time co-host, but I think it's been very similar, right? It's the same episodes that we do in the summer, and we're going to keep the same style for training camp and in the regular season. Um, but I'm excited, like doing bonus, but like all the bonus stuff and being able to like invest right now that it's how we allocate money and stuff. Like it's the stuff that I want to. Like we're going all in on training camp these next 3 weeks. We've spent money on a bunch of merchandise, mystery box gifts. Um, but I'm so excited to go out there, see people, make new listeners, kill it with content. And again, there's a couple other things we're gonna be, you're gonna be seeing for the first time. So like all that type of stuff. Um, and I want to do like um Bon like, bonus content, you know? Like, we're gonna do the regular shows, we're gonna do the training camp live streams, the player profiles, but something is like, what, people are out there, we're gonna have recording equipment. Hey, let's do 20 minutes, if whoever there that wouldn't normally be on the training camp schedule for the podcast, and let's put it out as bonus content. The ability to put more effort and just like, "Alright, that's benefiting me putting that extra effort, and it isn't all for naught." We're doing a plane, like that 24-hour stream, you kinda forget, like, we're gonna have a plane advertising the show, that's pretty cool. Uh, but one thing I will say is this: I'm super excited to be able to focus on the Giants and not having to try and grow an NFL brand. That is exhausting, especially when you know it's due, but just to be able to put my full effort into the Giants is, like, one, that's what I did in the beginning, and that's just so refreshing, and it's gonna be fun. Um there's other things, like, I'm looking to explore opportunities to bring a Giants show into the network, separate from Giants Nation show, but part of the network, and partner with that. That's something that, I wanna get done. The live show aspect as bonus content. I don't want people to think that we're just gonna become a live show where we're just doing these live mailbags. One per year will just be on the regular podcast, but I think all the other ones will be, like, bonus content, and especially if we can start live streaming them. Uh, so that type of stuff. So, but I hate to sound like the guy who's like telling you, "Oh, I'm having so much fun," but I am having so much fun, um, doing stuff and thinking of ideas and new stuff. If you ask my wife, she's like, "You gotta chill out," because I'm like, "We should put this in the mystery box. We should give like we're giving away a TV." And I'm like, "What happens if someone wins it on like the second day? Do we go buy another TV?" Um, I think we're gonna be giving out $2 on this on the wheel spinner that we're doing, and I'm like, "But $2 is kinda lame. Should we do $5?" That was an idea from our Patreon. Um, so sometimes I gotta tell myself to chill out, but it's fun. And I can't wait to see everybody in training camp and talk with everybody. Alright, next question. From All Things Giants at Giants Things, A1 from day one. If Steve from Blue's Clues had his gun to your head, I would. He does have a gun, by the way, Steve from Blue's Clues. I'd be a little wary, but I can't be like, you're not gonna pull that trigger, bro. You wanna be that guy? You wanna be the TV star? The children's another children's TV star who loses his mind, even though he wasn't a child star? Which UDFA would you pick to make the roster? Alright, so I gotta go quick with guns to my head, even though I had notes. I'm going Dalen Cambry, right? The special teamer out of Louisiana, wide receiver. They said, all the repeat reports, like he's making plays and OTAs. you can set yourself apart on specials, and he's an ace, right? Like, you know what? I should have. This is what I shouldn't have done. I should have told you guys, because maybe not everyone has listened to me fawn over Dalen Cambry or Cambry. I need to figure that out. That's one thing. That's somebody I want to get on the show, is Dalen Cambry. Like, training camp, come out to our rig and go. Let me go to Bobby Skinner's Twitter account and type in Dalen Cambry, and let me read you some Dalen Cambry stats. Dalen Cambry, second in special team tackles in college football in 2024. He was in the quarterback room as an emergency QB. He learned all three wide receiver roles at his time, despite only having 7 catches in his career. He's been the field goal kicker since 2020, where his kickers have been 156 of 161 on extra points, 59 of 70 on field goals. His kicker last year, Kenneth Almendarez, won the Lou Groza Award. I might be putting him in some mock drafts if he comes out next year. I don't even know what year he is. He said he's going to be a coach eventually. That's his words. He played over 1,000 special team snaps since 2020 while only playing less than 200 on offense. So, Dalen Cambry. I know the wide receivers are the big talk of the UDFAs. Daquan Felton, the big contested catch guy out of Virginia Tech. Bo Collins may not be the fastest, but he's kind of the most crisp route runner. Juice Wells, I think, has no pun intended, the most juice. Is just 3-level receiver. But you know what? I'm not a big fan of him. But Makari Page is an underrated one. The Michigan safety's like 6'3". I mean, he's cut out. He's a guy you have walk off the bus. But they don't have like a fourth safety that you can really just pen in like this is your fourth guy. They claimed Anthony Johnson Jr. off waivers last year, but he never got any playing time, and rightfully so. I don't think there wasn't any injuries to the safety room until Tyler Nubin. There just wasn't much playing time for him. But Makari Page is an under one out of Michigan. Maybe he makes the team. They put him in because they like him on the other guys. So, but I'm going to go Dalen Cambry. I'm just going to be a Dalen Cambry guy. All right, last question. Jack Salazzoni at Jack Salazzoni. What positions do you think the Giants could be looking to add players depth after 53-man cutdown? So speaking of Anthony Johnson Jr., the Giants are third in the pecking order for waiver wires this year, so it's going to be really paying attention to that. Last year, we thought they were going to get like 5 guys, and the Panthers ended up claiming like 5. Now, I will say they have built out the depth a little bit better, where it's not as much, but I'd look at the defensive tackle group. Even though they kind of have a bunch of bodies at defensive tackles, that may not be at safety again. Like I just mentioned, Makari Page, Anthony Johnson Jr. Safety could be that again. In fact, I'm going to look up. I'm going to pull up my big board for the 24 draft and see maybe some safeties that could be out there. Look at me. This is what we're freaking doing. We are looking up the safety class from a year ago. Be like, which guy hasn't gone? This Sionovaki, is he making any waves with the Lions? I know they kind of draft him as a running back. I kind of like the safety. Jaden Hicks is obviously not going anywhere with the Chiefs. I wasn't a big fan of his. Javon Buller's not going. Maybe Jalen Simpson, the Auburn safety, who's really light but he's athletic. I don't know. Let's look up Jalen Simpson. If we get Jalen Simpson, that's going to be crazy. Jalen Simpson stats. Let's see. What are his pro stats? Play with the Colts. Wait. What? No, he's with the Jets. He was a 5th-round pick. He played 68 snaps on offense? What the what? What is going on here? That doesn't make any sense. He played 68 snaps on offense and none on defense. They don't have game log for him. We go to PFF. This is crazy. If you're listening now, you got to kind of stay. This is a freaking journey we're going on. Premium stats by player. Jalen. What the hell? I'm spelling his name right. What is going on? I put S before P. He's listed as a corner for the Jets. He didn't play any snaps in 2024. So what is This 68 snaps. What the hell is Pro Football Reference talking about? But they got him listed as a corner for the Jets. So that means that he got waived by the Colts, I guess. Let's see his let's see. Traded by Lions as a 2024 5th round with a 6th round pick. A 2024 4th round pick to Eagles. What the hell is going on here? To Colts for 2020. But where did he? Oh, here we go. He got cut. The Jets claimed him off waivers. Hey, get another Jets safety. So the Colts signed him, waived him, signed him to the practice squad. All right, yeah, Jalen Simpson. How about that? What was I put one other position there. Inside linebacker. Again, no one's really set themselves apart there. So inside linebacker could be one that you get in there. All right. That's an episode. Again, I'm so excited for next week. Enjoy this weekend because we go to work. We go to work next week. No more fun. Work. If you're at training camp, again, come say hello. Sometimes people are like, hey, I saw you, but come say hello. If I'm charting and we're really in practice, come hang out. But we got to watch practice. But come say hello. Take a selfie, whatever. Come spin the wheel. I'm so excited to see you guys all there. So we'll see you then. Until then, let's go big blue.